Welcome back to the Sera podcast. Today I've got Sammy from Perky Pear. She's also got a new company that I'm excited to learn about called Bouncy Blow Band. That's a mouthful. Yeah. But hi, Sammy. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
I feel like we've been Insta friends for a while now.
Yeah. I don't even know how.
No,
sometimes it's like you're following people and you're like, it was sort of the same because I actually found out about Elle Sera through Renee K.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even know how that came about, but we're. Yeah.
Good synergy. Yeah. And then once I started looking at you and I was like, oh my God, there's that company Perky Pear, because I'd come across you loads of times. Loads of my friends had used your products, and then I just thought you were like a cool girl. I'm always interested in...
People always say that.
Well, I'm always interested in a girl like similar age to me, kind of similar circumstances. You've got off your back, you've started a business. I know you'll have been through the same trials and tribulations as me. And then you were also pregnant, and I was like, oh my God.
To be fair, it sounds quite similar.
Yeah, so I thought there was a lot of synergy, and you gave me some really helpful advice, especially when I was in the latter stages of my pregnancy and you'd just given birth, about products, about things to do in labour. So this is the first time we've actually met in real life.
Yeah.
So hi.
It's nice to meet you.
So this podcast focuses on like women's health primarily, but we also delve into women's products quite a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And yours is an unbelievable product. Absolutely love it. And I wish I'd had a product like that myself when I was in my 20s. I had ginormous boobs.
Yeah.
And I was always trying to like wear a backless top or something like that. And it was just impossible because my boobs were absolutely huge and like drooping down to the floor. So for anybody who doesn't know what Perky Pear is, do you want to explain what they are?
Yeah, it's just boob tape. I feel like people always say, like, what is it? It's like, there's no other way to say it really, is it? But yeah, it's a breast lift tape, and it kind of like, I was similar. My boobs weren't like, they're actually bigger now that I've had a baby. But even back then, I was a double D to E. And even then, like the products that were existing, like didn't even hold a D cup. Like unless you were like a C or below, nothing held or even worked to like shape. It was all paper based. Nothing was even cotton or sweat proof or anything like that. So yeah, I just avoided so many tops, or had my mum in like literally her face hair sewing and getting the stitching away before each night out when she sewed my tops to like bras and stuff. So yeah, I literally just really needed a product like it, which is basically how it came about, which is, do you want me to tell the story?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like, so why not get into it? Well, all the best products come from human experience, and you're looking around on the market and thinking, well, I'm sick of sewing a bra into my top to wear a backless top or whatever, strappy top or a strappy dress. So, you know, and I remember there was products on the market that used to like stick on. You could get like stick-on bras. Yeah.
Sort of papery material, or like the silicone bras, which were reusable. Yeah. But they'd literally just come off because they weren't sweat-proof. So yeah, it kind of came about because I started looking for this type of product when I was in a relationship. And I remember I tried on this dress, and it was like the trickiest dress because it was backless, thin straps, and plunge all at the same time. Right. And I was like, what do you wear? And I loved it so much. You know, it was one of the dresses where it's just like, it's so nice and it's so flattering, but I was just like, oh, like, what do I do? And then I bought the dress, but then I just never figured out how to wear it. And then that was when I was in a past relationship, and then we ended up breaking up. And I was like, right, I'm going to wear this dress. As you do, like, you know, I'm going to wear this
revenge dress.
It was like a red dress. It was so nice. And I just bought so many things. And it was all like from Amazon. So it was all sort of like China based or eBay. Like even your mainstream stores didn't even sell that type of product. Never mind the ones that didn't work. They just didn't sell it at all. So I was like, okay, so it's not easily accessible, but also what was on the market just didn't seem to even be a brand. It just seemed to be a product that just was mass produced and didn't really work. And yeah, it was only when I went to my grandma's house, and she used to be a physio. And my brother had hurt his knee because he was doing some sort of training. He's an Ironman now, so I don't know what he was doing back then, but he was always active. He'll love that. I got that in there if you can. And my grandma was a physio, and she said, oh, well, I've got this tape. And it was literally like 2 centimeters like wide. It was really small, but she was like, if you just tape it on your knee, I'll show you how to, and it'll really help. And I was like, oh, and I was sort of playing with it, and I was like, it was stretchy. She was like, oh, and he said something like, oh, but I'm swimming or something the next day, and he was like, sure, oh, don't worry, it's waterproof, you can literally swim in it. And I was like, what is this tape? Like, this sounds literally like the miracle thing. The only problem was it was like this thin, but it was like nude colored, and nothing on the market was nude colored or stretchy. There is now, because they figured out our material. They just can't figure out how we got it into like a pear shape. Right. But yeah, back then there was just nothing. So I started sort of piecing it together, and I just tried it on in the mirror and just thought, this is what I need, but I need it like in a bigger all-in-one shape, because when you tape over other tape, it just rolls down, right? Which is why like our product is so good, especially for big boots, because you need a large surface area. So it allows you to sort of like have all the tape but not layered on top of each other, and it just doesn't roll down. So yeah, I just started making it for myself, and then my friends were like, how did your boobs look so good? And I was like, I'll make you one. And I'd like literally like strip them together and like piece them together. But then at the time I found wider rolls of tape, but it was yellow. So I should have brought it actually. Our first prototype was like a yellow pear-shaped thing, which we have like a little sort of like behind the scenes page, which is for Perky Pear, but not spelled like pear as in twins, because my twin sister, who's over there, also owns the business. And yeah, so our first prototype was yellow, and I just sort of I showed Charlotte, and she was like, what is this? Like, what's, and I was like, this is like what I was talking about. Like, we need to make this. And she was like, but it's yellow. And I was like, no, we need to do this, but like nude, and like a nude, a black, all the shades. And yeah, I wasn't intending to like,
make it into a business.
I wasn't like, this is my £1 million idea. Like, I loved what I did at the time. I wasn't thinking that I was going to change. I was a graphic designer. So for as far as I was concerned, I was already doing my dream job. Right. So yeah, it just became a thing where I was like, actually, I feel like it needs to be done. And I kind of I had a note in a notebook, because I always like plan ahead. And I was like, next year, I was like, maybe try with Perky Pear on the side, have it like a side hustle type thing. And then, yeah, it didn't really happen like that, because as soon as I found a manufacturer for it and things like that, I was just like, oh, okay, maybe we'll launch it and see what happens. And
then how, like, that's so I mean, you've gone from like sitting there with your grandma getting a physio tape out, and like, your brother like taping up his knees, and then you've had this like light bulb moment, which is incredible. And then you've like sat around trying to make a like almost like a bikini shape.
Basically, that's
with
what
this
I looked
tape.
at. Yeah.
Right.
Like a cup shape. I remember being in Marks and Spencer's.
And then where does it attach? So it's like attached to your skin but higher.
Yeah, I'm wearing it.
Right.
I always wear it. There we go.
Wow, okay.
I'm wearing it all the time. People think like when we say we don't own a bra, what do you mean? Do you want to zoom in?
Oh, lovely.
Can't really see it, can you?
Lovely.
But anyway, people think that we joke when we say we don't wear bras, but I'm like, no, we generally do wear them. And we have a like unlimited supply, so
obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, you literally, it's a pear shape, and you literally stick it down, put it on.
Okay, so you've gone from like having your little yellow prototype, and then where do you set about like trying to find a manufacturer for this? And also obviously MOQs must be, are you thinking, oh no, I just want to like test my water, like dip my toe in the water with this, or were you like, no, this is I know if I need this product, it's gonna fly? What was your kind of like, did you have trepidation about it, or?
Yeah, I do get asked this question quite a lot, because it does sound really random. Like, how people always say to me, you don't have a business background, so how did you know what to do? But I don't know. I think if you have a good feel for something, I think you have to have a natural sort of like business mind or logistical mind. So I'm very creative, but I do have like a logistical side of my brain where I was like, I knew the material. So I knew, okay, try and find someone who sells that material. Right. And things change as well. Like when you, like how we operate now is completely different to back then. And I feel like because you grow and you learn. So back then I found a company who sold that tape, but it wasn't the manufacturer. So they were just someone they were already buying it from a manufacturer. And luckily they helped me out. They were actually based in Ireland. And they were like a sports rehabilitation company. So I kind of went through them.
Right.
And I just said, I want that material, but I want at the time I was like, I need like a 20 centimeter roll. And then I was like, I just want the material. I was adamant I didn't want to have it made in China because I was scared that they copy me. But also I was really keen on getting it made in the UK. And as far as I know, we're the only tape brand who genuinely make our tape and own all our rights to it and actually make it in the UK and in the USA as well. So where we sell it, we actually
manufacture it in that country,
put into that country.
I can see that. I am exactly the same. I manufacture in the UK for that reason. And also there's just more robust kind of, especially around food supplements, manufacturing laws and everything, good manufacturing practices that, you know it's, I use a very reputable company to do it. And they really hold my hand, especially in the beginning when you don't really know.
Exactly.
You want someone to hold your hand. You don't want to be getting ripped off by a company and people you don't even know overseas. So
no. And I think for me as well, for me in my head, I was like, it needs to be size based. One of the things that I didn't like about the products was they were just like a one size fits all. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to have our sizes, and I can't be I think I always thought big straight away. I didn't think I'm going to sell this myself on eBay or anything like that. If I'm going to do it, I want to be a brand. I want to sell it in retailers. I didn't know how. I had no contacts. I had no followers. I was like 200 followers on Instagram. I wasn't anybody. But I just had this weird dream that I just wanted to do. I don't know. I just had a vision of where I wanted to be. And in my head, I was thinking, if we run out of a size, I can't then wait weeks on end to have it imported from China. So it allows us to be more responsive because we have material now in meter rolls for 20 centimeters, because that just, again, you just grow and you learn. And we can get any size made at any time for ourselves, depending on demand. And for some reason, I just kind of knew that's the way I wanted to work. And I can't explain why. I just thought if I'm going to do sizes, I need to have the material ready. We need to be ready to go. We need to be responsive. We can't be waiting until, the ship's docked. And thank God we didn't because of all the stuff that happened.
Well, then you've got COVID that hit. Plus then, especially as a new brand starting off, I was speaking to a girl a couple of weeks ago on here called Rebecca, and she does bring in things from China a lot, but she says there's lots of different things you need to think about. You need to think about your landing costs. You need to think about this cost. You need to think about, there's loads of other costs involved that people, especially new brands who are quite green to it all, just don't really factor in. So there's pros and cons to doing it.
There's definitely pros and cons. We still have some accessory based things coming from there as well. But like you say, you've got to factor in the cost and make sure your margins and everything makes sense. But in the early days, you do things that are cost effective as possible. So for me, working with this company, they weren't the manufacturer, so I wasn't getting the best cost, but that's okay because I only needed 200 rolls as opposed to 1,000. And by doing it that way, working not with a manufacturer directly, I was able to, like you say, stick with low MOQs. So it was sort of more feasible. I mean, I ordered I had 3,000 units when I first launched Perky Pear. I thought that was huge. I was like, oh my gosh, we sold out within 3 months. But
that's really good. Yeah, that's really good. And what was your marketing plan or strategy at that time?
Well, I think people always, again, they say, how do you know what to do because you're not business, you didn't have a business degree. It was a hybrid between marketing and design. And I always say, if you are a designer, or especially if you have marketing knowledge, you're more equipped to start a business than you are if you were just to do a business degree, because you're the person that does. So I was the person who designed the products, I designed the packaging. It didn't look great. I look back at it now and you think, oh no.
But if you get it right first time, you're waiting too long to start.
Exactly. It takes years to sort of grow and learn. So, but I saved money on product development and product design, packaging design, and then obviously with my background in marketing. So when I left university, I had a job as a designer in a marketing agency. So I worked with loads of brands. I dealt with email marketing platforms, social media. So I kind of knew, okay, I know that we need to start social media. I know that we need to get a website going, even if the products aren't on there. We need to sort of get some hype together, start a newsletter, build up newsletter,
email addresses
exactly. So when we were ready to launch, which was I think this was in September, and Charlotte was helping with the social media when she was working full time, because she was really good, because at the time she had her own sort of side hustle cake business, which I don't think everyone knows, called Cake Candy. I think it's still live on Instagram, to be fair. She was really good at it. So she was really good at social media. And yeah, she built up a following. I think it's because I was showing the results and sort of showing a glimpse of the product, because you couldn't show it before we launched it because of copyright, and making sure that it was protected and trademarked, and until that was all final, you can't really showcase the product. But I think people were just fascinated because they were like, it's nude. It's I sort of like showed glimpses of it. And again, nothing was like that on the market. So we ended up with 4,000 email subscribers just when we went live, and then we sort of had just kind of, I don't know, we just kind of knew that we needed some sort of mini launch party. So we did a mini launch party, and we worked with a social PR for that. And they sort of got celebrities there, press there. And then off the back of that, we were literally 2 weeks, we were in the PLT offices, and they took 2,000 units. So
wow, for anybody who doesn't know, PLT is Pretty Little Things, is that right? Yeah.
So that helped us straight away with brand exposure. And
how did you begin the brand? Was it all self-funded?
Oh, yeah, all self-funded. I started by going to get a bank loan, because at the time you could get like a little startup loan. But then as I was looking into it, they were like, oh no, you need like 5 months worth of books. And I was like, but we haven't started yet. So how'd you get? So luckily my mum was like, I'll lend you what you were going to lend the bank, and you can just pay me back, but it'll be interest free, which we did. And we paid it back within a year. Yeah, it was really nice. And then I think as we were in a flow of stock, just because of cash flow and stock is really important to really kick, to keep you going, because we sold out so soon. We sort of saw it going that way, and we were like, we're going to sell out, so we need to get more stock ordered so that there isn't such a wait.
Well, that's the thing, you never want to be out of stock, do you? Yeah.
And that's when I took out the startup loan, because they would do it, because we'd be
traded for a bit longer.
Yeah. And that really helped us boost it. And then we would always just in a flow then. That like your cash flow and flow of stock is like the most important thing, like to get going and to stay on the right track.
Yeah, 100%.
And also to get into retailers and be able to.
Yeah. And also remember things like VAT, corporation tax, all these things that you think, oh my God, look at how much I've got in the bank. And then you go, no, there's a VAT bill. No, there's corporation tax bill. No, there's everything else on top.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, completely. Well, yeah, it's an amazing story. So now you've got so is it patented?
So it's the designs. The design's protected, yeah. But
sorry, for anyone wondering who's whispering, it's your twin sister, Charlotte, who's also co-founder of the business, but doesn't like to do the speaking roles.
She's like what's it called? Like stage mom. She's like stage twin.
Okay.
She just shouts things at me from the distance that I forget, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's all protected, but because it's a drawing.
Yeah.
Essentially. Because it's like, I sketched it out and then I literally designed it on Illustrator. That's our template, because it's such a basic product. So it doesn't really need a patent. And patents take 10 years sometimes. And they'll also
spend a fortune trying to defend it all the time.
But then it just, and then most of the time in England, the laws are so black and white that it'll just, we had so much advice on it. And they're like, it won't go through because technically the material existed to already stick on a body.
Yeah.
You have to almost change something completely. But I was like, it's okay. But people can't do our shape and just the way we operate is sort of like just...
Well, it's everything, isn't it? It's about your customer service. It's about it's tried and tested products. It's about the glue you use. It's about the way the shape is.
We've seen some
funkier
copies.
Absolutely, I bet there's some absolutely terrible copies that just aren't going to work in the way that it does. And the only reason you get repeat custom and you've built this great reputation and a successful business is the fact that the product stands up on its own. And I think you're the first to market. People should support that too. At your innovation and the fact that you have gone out there and done that and sat there. I love the fact that you sat there with your grandma who's physio, with all this tape knocking around. But it's a great story. I absolutely love it. Do you feel like you're a bit of an inventor now?
I feel like, I don't know, when you get like a little taste for it, you're like, okay. And then from Perky Pear, because I had so much experience talking to manufacturers or just, I don't know, you're just growing confidence in knowing where to go and how to go about stuff. Because people always think, like, the first question of how do you find a manufacturer? Like you say, all I did is look at like who was selling similar material. So when I had the idea for Bouncy Blow Band, which is the heatless hair curling band in 2020, it was because everyone's doing like the dressing gown tricks. I was like, we need to do something better.
Yeah.
I just kind of thought, okay, who does something similar? And it's like headband companies with that sort of material. Get in touch with them, and then they do, make them sign an NDA and then tell them your idea, and then get samples.
Yeah. And see if it works.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it sounds so simple to me now.
Same.
But back then it was like years of working out. I think it was either 2.5 years before we went from working with a supplier for Perky Pear material to actually the confidence to go and actually speak directly to a manufacturer. And then obviously they are based overseas. So yeah, making sure that was all right. Luckily we had someone to go and look at it for us because we got investment in 2019 from our US director, because people probably don't know that we're also a US based business.
So was that, I mean, that must have been an exciting step, the fact that you were going into America. Everybody wants to crack America.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so you've got a US distributor as well. So you send a load of stock over there and it just gets distributed from over there.
Yeah. So how it went about is like, in the early days, when we first launched Perky Pear, weirdly enough, we got more sales in the US than in the UK.
Right.
There's a funny story as to why. Do you know Fat Man Scoop?
Yeah.
Well, no, you don't know him, but
know of him, yeah.
Well, basically his wife, I don't even know how she found out about us in the early days. We did like no influencers, but Instagram, you just got out there. The algorithm wasn't as tricky. So when we launched on Instagram, I feel like people it sort of really picked up in America for some reason. And Shonda is like, I don't think they're married now. I don't know. They could be. I don't know. But she had a YouTube channel. So she was talking about Perky Pear and she like loved the tape. So also we're getting hundreds of orders from the US. And I was like, oh, wow. And it was always like, eventually the UK picked up, but then it was always like a 30% US, 70% UK split.
Right.
So we always knew that we wanted to go in more into the US market. And then 2019, because it was being sold over there, our US director got in touch with us because she'd seen the tape, tried the tape, loved it. And again, she's was someone who invests into female-led companies and wanted to distribute us out there. So obviously that was 2019 and we had big plans for 2020 and 2021, but then there was a pandemic.
Then COVID, yeah. Oh, a nightmare.
So we're still working on that, but we have a separate US website. So if you're in the US, you'll see the US website, and then we have a distribution company. So we send products to that warehouse, which is in Pennsylvania. So if you're in the US, you can still get your order within like 2 to 5 working days and you don't have to wait for it from the UK. So and we're just working on, now that the pandemic's over and we're building it back up again, hopefully we start getting into a few retailers over there. It's really hard to do. It's really, really hard. Yeah. I don't know whether it's just because we were from Stockport as well. A lot of fast fashion like PLT and Boohoo and Misguided, obviously they're Manchester based, and they really liked that we were local, and I think they liked our story as well. So kind of getting into the UK retailers hasn't really been, it was never really a problem, because as soon as PLT stocked us, I feel like everyone else just watches, and then they all just came to us.
They all break.
And I feel like it's always a cop out when people say, how did you do it? And I'm like, they kind of just asked.
They came to me.
But that's kind of what happens, because the UK is so much smaller. I mean, Texas is 3 times as big as the UK. Yeah. So even just smashing one state is 3 times the UK. It's still a work in progress for the US, but we're excited about the future.
So is that the ambition then, to get into retailers in the US? Is there any like big hitters you want?
I mean, things like Macy's.
Bloomingdale's.
The sort of like even if it's just online, because obviously a lot of people are doing online now as well, and just more marketplaces. That's our main aim, even for the UK as well. But obviously retailers are taking a massive hit because of the pandemic, so it's like a slow build up. Everyone's sort of still in that recovery process, we found. But like we were speaking before off, and we always say, like, don't rely just on retail. It's sort of like, it would always be a smaller percentage. It's nice to have, and it's great for brand credibility. But revenue-wise, always focus on your own website and your own, and looking after your own
customer and your own customer journey. I'm a big believer of that. No one will do as good a job as looking after your customer as you. You've worked hard to get that customer. the customer experience you'll get with you. I mean, your testimonials are amazing. You've got brides who wear it on their wedding day and you give them their confidence to wear the dress that they actually want to wear instead of something that's like where they can wear a big thick bra strap or something.
Yeah. I was shocked, to be fair, because obviously I got married in May. I had to remember then. And yeah, like when I went into the bridal shops, she knew about my company just because when I was emailing her, she was like, "Oh, I've heard about Perky Pear. We wanted to stock. We didn't know that you stock boutiques." So we stock smaller boutiques now. We supply our boutique to quite a lot of bridal boutiques. And yeah, I was like, yeah, because it's crazy. Like when I was trying on the dresses, if I didn't have Perky Pear, I don't know what I'd do. It would close me off to a lot of styles. So yeah, we know how much of a game changer it is. And I think that's the importance about being, sort of concentrate on your own customers, because we know how important our tape is to our customers. I mean, in the early days, Charlotte and I, when it was just us two, we literally drove from Manchester to Yorkshire because a group of bridesmaids said that they'd ordered their tape and it hadn't come in time. And there was like 12 of them. We're like, we can't let them down. Like we know how important it was. We literally drove to Yorkshire, popped them in the post box and then drove back again.
Well, it's right. And it's the right thing to do. And that's how you build great customer loyalty. We do that regularly. There'll be like people who's like, oh, I'm going on holiday. I haven't got my golden pills. And if you look, there they are.
Yeah.
If it's like within an hour, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like we will go and drop it off. Yeah. No joke. Like, and we've done that. There was a guy who emailed us who was like, we got it to his wife in very record time and did it especially for him.
Aww.
And he was like, please, if you ever need anything, I'll come to your office.
I'll come and lift. Saw that.
Yeah, I'll come and lift your boxes for you. And Kelly was like literally crying in the office.
She was like, yes, come on.
Oh, honestly, it's so sweet and that's. Do you know what? That's what you can do when you've got a small agile brand.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, we don't do that as much because our postal service is better now.
Yeah,
I feel like that was in the early days when we just had Royal Mail.
Yeah,
and they weren't as well. They're still
don't even talk to me about Royal Mail.
But now we have like 5 different couriers on the go just so that we can never get let down, basically.
Same. Everyone goes, you go on about Royal Mail enough. Why are you still using them? Like, I don't use them. I tell everyone not to use them.
Yeah.
I hate them. They've lost like 6 figures worth of stock for us.
Oh no.
And
oh my God.
I mean,
but all at once or just in a few
like, it'd be like, oh, we only delivered 80% this month. And I'm like, this is a premium ticket item.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And like, I have to replace that. So not only have I lost that product, I've now lost
the money and
everything else, which they don't seem to get. And then they offered me like 1,500 quid. And I was like, oh, do you know what? Just go. But the problem is I'm going to spend a fortune trying to get that. I'm going to throw good money after bad. I don't know what to do about that because I'm also obviously in litigation. I like the fact that you sat there and said, well, we just waited for the trademark to come in, and I didn't do that. I started Sera just like very impulsively and went with it. And now I'm being sued by Elle magazine for it, of my trademark, of the name.
Because of the Elle bit?
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm not giving it up.
Yeah, I feel like people always forget about the whole trademark side of things, but also like what order to do things in. So I think because I studied design and marketing and things like that, trademarks and like the order in which to do things, especially in the digital world, we sort of did a whole, like we just learned about that because that was our area of work. And I feel like, especially in the digital world, the first thing I did was check Company's House and see if there was a business called Perky Pear, and there wasn't. And I was like, okay, but before securing that, I was like, I'll check if the domain name's free. And then before I did that, I checked the trademark Company's House and checked not only if Perky Pear was taken, but also if anything related to pear was in the same category, because you need to just make sure they're not in the same field or category.
Well, this is the thing. They haven't got a trademark in my category.
Like a supplement,
nothing.
Health, women's health.
They're trying to say they've got it in sunglasses. I went, so? You can't eat sunglasses. And you can't wear a supplement. So therefore,
that's fine then.
Exactly. They went, well, we promote supplements in our magazine. So
it's not the same.
And I was like, it's not the same.
Unless it's registered, in that
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
2 years I've been doing this and I talk about it all the time. So, because it's a bone of contention with me.
Yeah, I feel like I have heard.
Yeah. And I will not stop going on about it.
My sister said, like, if they haven't registered it in that category, then I don't think you don't have to respond to them.
Well, I don't even want to go there because honestly, it's like
just don't reply. We've had people not reply to us.
I know. Tell me about it. I wish I could not reply, but I have a solicitor who's like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. So I trust his advice. He's very good at what he does. So I just do what he tells me to do. But we're like 2 years down the line now, and I'm just getting a bit sick of it.
Yeah.
So hey ho. But the Bouncy blow band.
Yeah.
It's like the tongue twister.
Bouncy blow band.
I actually have one of these. I'm yet to use it. And it's only because my home situation is absolutely ridiculous. I'm living between 3 different houses at the moment. So as soon as I have a beautiful setup, which is now being made, I'm going to get that Bouncy blow band out and I'm going to do my hair.
Yeah.
So talk me through it.
So it's a heatless hair curling band, but it has 4 arms, and it also has inbuilt accessories and an inbuilt clip. So you don't have to get another clip and stick on your head and do all that. You just slide it on, and then that keeps it in place when you wrap it. And then because it's got 4 arms, it's really good if you have short hair because you have to wrap it all to just one, which a lot of the
so essentially I'm just gonna look in this camera here. So essentially it'd be like you clip your hair in like that and then
you just slide
it
on.
in there and then
just slide the band
and then
on.
you wrap it around the arms. Okay,
but you just slide it on, do that, and then it's good for short hair because you can use the back one because most of the ones just have the one thing. And you have to bring all your hair to the front, and then you have no curls in the back. And if you have short hair, it doesn't work. So this is for pretty much all hair types, lengths and fineness and things like that. So
did you go through a lot of prototypes to get that right?
No. I just pictured it straight away. And then
did you not think, maybe 8 arms would be better or 6 arms or
no. Just I thought 4 would be good to start. But I do have a variation in mind where obviously the more bands it's sort of the more curls you can get and things like that. So there is going to be more variations. And again, I had to get all that drawn up. It was a different process to Perky Pear because it's a different type of product. So we had to do 3D drawings of it and things like that. But again, essentially it's a hairband. And I think patenting it's a very tricky one. Very old fashioned.
Yeah.
As long as you're, like you say, first to market, we have the designs, everything's drawn out. Essentially, it's a similar sort of thing in the sense of we use a material and there's a template that's cut out of it. So again, you can get around it by that template is yours.
Yeah.
And there's no other way really to cut it to get what we get. So if anyone copies, you own the rights to the template, but also the 3D drawing, how it looks in its 3D form, all the different angles and things like that. So, and again, I think sometimes, it's hard to know because there isn't a book on how to bring a product to market. There's no blueprint. And I only sort of learned it from doing Perky Pear. And I think if you just have a creative mind and an idea, you sort of always seem to know what to do or where to go about it in terms of how the product's going to be made. Basically I cut up a dressing gown that my husband bought me. He bought me a dressing gown for Christmas and I'm not a dressing gown wearer. It's a microfiber towel-y type thing. Right. I just brought it into the living room and I was like, can I cut this up? And he was like, yeah. He knows what I'm like and he just sat there helping me stitch it. And it was his idea that you had to have the midway bobble on it. He'll love that I dropped that in there. He's always like, who came up with that idea? Yeah,
and he's going to run with it.
Yeah, so I have pictures of us sat in our old house. He's just sewing it with me. So we've had everywhere I've lived so far, I've created a product. So
well, that's nice. I've never met anybody ever or sat here on this podcast when we've talked about their entrepreneurial journey that hasn't said, oh my God, I've made some horrendous mistakes. I know I have. Yeah. And so what are some of the worst things that you've gone through in the last few years? When did you start Perky Pear?
We started it, I registered the company in 2016 and I started doing trying to find the manufacturer for it whilst I was still working full time. And then we launched it in 2017. March 2017, 2 months in, I was launched it in my mum's living room. Then I rang Charlotte 2 months in, you need to quit your job and come and help me. I was literally drowning. I couldn't keep up with everything that I had to do. So Charlotte quit her job, showed up at my mum's house, hungover after leaving her job with a coffee and sunglasses and hadn't even bought me one. I was like, this is literally summary of what it was going to be like for the next 6 years. So we started it in the March, and then within 6 months, we left my mum's house, got our first office, and then my mum left her job of 13 years and came to work with us.
It's a really family-run business.
Really family-run. Like, my mum's still there, but twice, because she's partially retired, but she was one of those women who's like, I will never retire. So she works twice a week, and she brings their dog in as well, which is nice. Our husbands both work for the company. So Matt started working with Perky Pear in 2019.
Is that your partner?
Charlotte's partner.
Right.
And then he was a huge part of taking us through the pandemic, because essentially we had 2017, 18, 19, 2 years, and then we had the investment in 2019.
Did that affect your sales, the pandemic, or did, well, obviously people aren't going out, so they're not in like lovely dresses, are they?
Yeah. Well, the challenge was because we had the investment in 2019 and we upscaled massively. And like you say, you found out about us in early 2020 because we were doing so much with press. We had a huge event. We did our first celebrity ambassadorship with Vicky Patterson, who we work with now. She's amazing. And we sort of were blowing up. But then all of a sudden the pandemic literally was like a brick wall. And literally overnight, all our retailers the next day were like, cancel. Like 6 figures worth of orders just in one day, just gone. And obviously loads of stock still. And it was really, really hard. We massively suffered. We had a huge loss that we had to make back post-pandemic just to be profitable again. And really proud of what we managed to achieve the last couple of years after that. But it was really scary. I think it's a crazy one though, because I think with the investment, it felt like we had a bit of a safety net. I think if we didn't have that, it would have been a lot worse. Potentially like closing material, or at least get a job and then start again. Yeah. Because I know I would have started again. I knew it would be fine because I started it with nothing. So either way, it would have come back. Yeah. It would have been fine, but it wouldn't have been to the level it did where we basically just picked up where we left off, sort of thing.
I mean, at least you have that stock, and at least it's not going to go out of date.
That was the only thing we kept saying. At least it doesn't have an expiration date.
Yeah.
But so there was that. But in terms of mistakes made, I mean, there's loads of things that I would have done differently. But like you say, they're learning things, like when the first packaging, for instance, looked horrible. But if you're not embarrassed by your first packaging, then you're doing it wrong.
You waited too long
you're
to
always
start.
embarrassed by your first packaging. And then there was like other little bits like production mishaps. Like there was a product that we brought to market called the Bandu tape, which was a complete accident, which shouldn't have been made. And that was because our tape only stretches one way. And when it was being made, the person in the factory was like, oh, we've managed to get more yield like out of the material by putting some on the side. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. And I sort of didn't click. Oh no, you can't do it that way. Obviously that's a big lesson to learn, because we had thousands of units of them all. Also, now I went to put one on on a photo shoot with it was the A to B size. It wasn't on me, it was on a model. And I was like, why isn't it like, it's not stretching? I was like, oh, and then I realized that it'd been cut the other way around. So the stretch was now when it was on its side.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll just say it's a Bandu tape and put it on its side, and it can just be for like strapless styles.
Okay.
And it actually sold really well, and we carried on selling it for a good couple of years before we stopped selling it because there was just no need for it. So that was probably the biggest mistake, would you say? I mean, we've done other things like trade shows, which I just wouldn't ever do again in London. Sort of like, you learn. You can't really make mistakes if you're learning from them.
Absolutely, of course. But there's things like in hindsight, you think, oh God,
we shouldn't have done
the
that.
benefit of your experience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of marketing, have you ever used any external marketing companies? And
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of things as a business which you do, and then you learn. I mean, in 2019, because we were experimenting and upscaling, we worked with agencies that took on work like our influencer work and things like that, in terms of like sending briefs out to influencers, and they were all just the wrong type of influencers. Again, it just wasn't controlled by us, so it wasn't really the right people weren't talking about us, and it was just very expensive, and we weren't get a lot of companies sometimes you find tell you they're going to do all this stuff, and then you just don't get anything back. So
they overpromise and underdeliver. I found a lot of the time.
So now we sort of like have learned from that, and it's like never sign a year retention, like always do like 3 months and review it, or don't work with them. So things like that, but like you have to learn that. Yeah, it's frustrating, but yeah, like being stuck and paying a company and being told, oh, you've got 6 months left. It's like, okay. So things like that.
Yeah.
And also things like, yeah, marketing and just
PR, I think.
PR, yeah.
PR is probably the biggest waste of time I've ever come across in my experience.
Yeah. And also things like when you say outsource.
They like don't deliver anything and they go, well, we've put calls into these people, there's a fee. And I go, what? I actually haven't seen anything for the money I've spent yet. And
the worst for that we found is the US.
Really?
But not just marketing, but a lot of other companies. I mean, we paid one company over $80,000 and we literally didn't even make even $1,000 return on like a TV ad, everything. Right. It was just like nothing.
It's just pointless. Yeah,
just pointless. Yeah. I'm just like, it seems like all this fluff, and then they seem to be the worst in terms of like people we've worked with out there compared to here. But then even like things like manufacturing and just sort of like the logistical side of things, we thought because we fulfill all our orders ourselves internally. So we thought, okay, well, if we get rid of sort of like downsize the premises, we thought, oh, that was sort of like before the pandemic. Sort of like thinking if we just have our HQ head office and then we have someone else do the fulfillment. And it was a complete headache. It really cut into our margins. They were making so many mistakes that we were just on the phone to them constantly.
Really?
Like someone would order like an original and they'd get like a nipple cover and it's like, it's not even the same.
Yeah.
And they was just happening all the time. So now we fulfill everything in-house.
I was just about to say, this comes to my door a lot. And I mean,
3PLs. No.
Yeah. Like all the time, like you need to fulfill and else. We do it all from our office for the exact same reason. And I've listened to lots of girls
say the same
similar who've actually done a fulfillment center and then gone back. Yeah.
It's even worth to get an extra bigger space and your own staff to do it. It's 100% worth it. I mean, there would be like £1 to pick each product. So someone, which they normally do now that we've got more SKUs, orders 5 products. That's £5 just to pick that order. Then £5 for £1 for a leaflet and £1 for your own personalised bag. So all in all, that would have cost like £7 to fulfill.
Yeah.
And then when you've got like 400 orders going out, you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
It just wasn't worth it at all. But the good thing about that was we knew what systems they use. So now we have our own warehousing system and we use, the computer system that they use because that was a good system.
Yeah.
So we learned, okay, we don't want to do that, but we like the system.
But we'll
do it ourselves.
Please can we buy your platform?
Yeah.
And that's a good way of doing it. Yeah, absolutely.
So we managed to learn that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Getting your hands dirty is sometimes the best way.
Well, I feel like everyone says I'm a control freak for not wanting to go into a fulfillment center. And I'm like, no, I'm learning from everybody else's experiences that it's not been fantastic. So,
and you have to do like things like put your own leaflets in, or like when it's Valentine's Day, we put like little love hearts in. It's just really cute. Even there's 400 orders, like it's quicker just to. We have like a team of staff who. But then you can utilize them as well. They don't just do orders. That's like a couple of hours in that day. And then they do customer help. It's like, it's your whole.
You're a startup business essentially. And everyone wears so many different hats. And like, there's no like set role. You're not on customer service today and tomorrow. We all muck in whatever's got to be done.
Like there's a certain time, like couriers come at like 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So it's not a full-time thing anyway. So you've got to utilize everyone in the best way. And it just seems to be. It's the only thing I would definitely say to everyone. If you're thinking that that's going to transform your business, it's going to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Like just keep it in-house.
I'm on that cusp at the moment. I mean, they put forward a very compelling argument. I had a meeting with the fulfillment centre. They took me around. They showed me everything. And this guy for 2 years has been like trying to get me to go. My God, did he put on a good show? I mean, a good show.
Oh, really?
I mean, to the point where he got me a high-vis jacket all embroidered.
I got a high-vis jacket as well.
Embroidered with my name on. I wonder if it's the same guy.
No.
Maybe we should talk after this. But yeah.
I don't know how I'd feel if I got my own name on it. I want to sit on one of the things, but he wouldn't let me. I was like, health and safety.
Oh my God, no. They let me pick and pack everything. And they were like, this is how our system works. And so they made me a big sign of my brand on it. They got my branding on the high-vis. they've really gone, they really wanted this. And I was like, the fact that you're even, after I've literally told you to fuck off every opportunity, he rang me on email. And it's only because I was at Ascot and he made himself known to me, and he's like, hi.
Was he there?
Yeah. No. And I was like, fair play. You've come and hunted me down, which is what I like. But yeah. So
God. Yeah.
Different for us though. We only have
I feel like anyone
one product.
Anyone who has a 3PL company listening will be like, oh no. No. Even my US director was like, why don't use a 3PL? Like she was just, she knows what she's talking about.
So in the US, have you got kind of your own warehouse with the similar sort of?
It's technically a 3PL.
Right.
In the
US, right.
In the US.
But it seems to work a lot better.
I wouldn't say it works better. There's still headaches to it, but it's only because there's no one on the floor in the US. I'd say if your last resort was if you're not in that country, then a 3PL. But if you're based in, like we're in the UK and our business is in the UK, there's, as long as we're running the company and margins matter heavily to us, and UK is like the biggest, revenue maker out of the US and the UK, it's like, there's just no brainer. I mean, if we were to ever sell a company in a couple of years' time, it's probably likely someone will do that, but that would be their choice. As long as we're running it, we want the margins to be as good as they can. Yeah, absolutely. And everyone's happy with that. So
you talked before about doing a celebrity endorsement with Vicky Patterson. She's great. She's a great ambassador for you. Her content is brilliant, very authentic.
Yeah, she's so good.
Yeah, she's really, you picked a good choice there. But is there anybody else you think, I'd love to get my hands on her, I'd love to collaborate with her?
Well, I think we always collaborate with people who are like just a natural fit. So it came about in 2020 with Vicky because her stylist bought Perky Pear for her, and she was just literally like, I love it. And then she just tagged us, and it was really natural and really organic, which is what we like. And then the only other person that really stuck out to us was Olivia Bowen. That's who we're working with this year.
Who's that, sorry?
Olivia Bowen.
Right.
So she was in Love Island, and I watched that episode because I was younger back then. And so she's sort of grown up with us as well. And as soon as she was out of Love Island, again, she organically posted about Perky Pear, and again was seen to be one of those celebrities which didn't mind to show like a bit of realness. Like Vicky's always like, this is my before and after. And it was really hard to find that when we launched. I mean, we launched in 2017 and Instagram looked different. They were still very much like this perfect image. Yeah. And it was sort of like the opposite of what I would wanted to see when I was in my early 20s. It was all very much like everyone was perfect. So I always said if we launched, we would only show like realness. We wouldn't ever Photoshop anyone. We'd have a variety of sizes, which we're still working on. And when we first started, there was so much red tape because Instagram and Facebook ads hated us because we were a kaboot.
Well, I was just about to say that,
And then no influencer was like, anyone would get in touch with the manager, say, oh no, this isn't for them. They don't really want to show that. Or are they able to just sort of show a sneak peek? And then it's like, it's just doesn't really show you what it does. And then literally couple of years later, everyone was like, knock, like they want to work with you now. It's popular now, and it's in fashion to showcase that you're not perfect. So it kind of became easier for us, but at first it was really hard. So we kind of like really went towards, and I don't know, I guess like celebrities that really weren't bothered about that sort of thing, which Vicky and Olivia really weren't. They were sort of like very much themselves, and they just didn't really care about being shown this perfect side to them. And so it's just a really natural fit with them. That's why we did our ambassadorships, because we only want to do something with people if it's like a natural fit. So we did our Paris shoot with Olivia in March. So that's the current campaign that we're running at the moment with Olivia. And we work with everyone like continuously as well. I think it's really important as a brand to be really real and just to work with people who genuinely like your products and not just like pick anyone just because of the sake of it. There's a couple of people, I mean, in the US especially, people like, what's she called? Ashley Graham. Mine, do you have like, do you forget words after you've had a baby? Because mine's like, I don't know how to string a sentence together.
Do you know what? I've got a friend who's a
what's the word?
I've got a friend who's a neuroscientist.
It's a thing.
No, it is a real thing.
It's a thing. You lose brain cells.
it's not so much that, as well as different parts of your brain tune in. So danger and like, you're aware of danger
your
more.
Instincts, your motherly instincts grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you just can't talk.
So memory goes, and the wanting to socialise goes.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm desperate to get him on the podcast. Yeah. And every time he's based in Belfast, but every time he's in the UK, we never actually record the podcast.
It's fascinating.
But yeah, I really wanted to get him to talk about that, because it is fascinating. Yeah. I tell you who else would be a good fit for you. Ashley James.
Oh yeah, we worked with her.
Yeah, she's a good.
We have loads of things that we want to do next year as well. Because people always say, because we did a shoot like for the last one, and we only had 3 models, and there's always a better job you can do at showing inclusivity and different varieties of shapes and sizes. But it's sometimes just a cost thing. It's like, but we try and do that with the other people we work with outside of photo shoots. But the next year we're doing an actual shoot with way more models.
Yeah.
There's always like improvements that we can make. And we're also planning to go increase our sizing as well.
Yeah.
G to H cup, which has been heavily requested.
Right.
But there's so many people would say, why did you do G to H? There's so many logistical things. Like the packaging needs to be different just for that product, just because it's so bigger. So there's we're doing that, but there's just trying to work out the logistics around. I don't think people factor in like the production work that it takes to just get a bigger size. So but that's going to happen next year, which we're excited about.
Amazing.
I don't think we've spoken about it publicly. Never mind.
No, it's good to hear all the pitfalls. I mean, a lot of people say to us, is this product for me? I don't really look like the models you have on your page. And I'm like, do you know why? Because every time I ask for real models to come forward of our real customers, no one puts their hands up. So I'm left with the people who I know personally, and I'm left with a few customers who don't mind having the picture taken. If they're not the most diverse of groups, I can't fake it, because I don't want to just hire like one model. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the rest be real customers, and then I'm only paying for that. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, no, I want this to be a real customer shoot. I'm not going to fake it by having just 2 hired models or 1 hired model come in. So it is, I don't think people understand from my perspective or brand's perspective some of the like things you've got to think about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even like midi size, when you're trying to find a model, it doesn't really exist. It's either like plus or not, or your class is plus even if you're a size 14. And it's just like, that's just not really, I just think, it's actually the model, trying to find a model, the right model is hard, because it's just messed up.
You must have a plethora of real customers who would do this for you.
We do, and we are doing it next year. But also just the even influencers that we work with who are like sort of like micro influencers who are like body positive and things like that. I don't like that word for loads of reasons, but I'm more like inclusive / like we want to show variety rather than we're very careful with the whole body positive thing, just because it's like it's very hard to be positive about your body all the time. So it's like we're very much like we want to show a variety of women, and we want to be like inclusive of sizes. But I think you need to be mindful really of the whole what that message is.
Well, you're doing really well, honestly. I think it's an absolutely wonderful story. I came across you, when you did the big launch party with Vicky Patterson. I thought, oh, this looks cool. And then ended up following you on Instagram because I thought you were cool.
And people say it all the time.
I've just really enjoyed watching the brand grow.
Don't they? The other day, she was like, someone was like, they're just so cool. And I was like, we are literally the least cool people. We're not cool, but
I think you're. Well, I think you are, and I think you're inspirational because I've really followed your journey because you've become a new mum.
Oh yeah,
I feel like I've been on that journey with you, and I'm looking at everything that you post about in terms of like, I bought the owlet because you bought the owlet, and things like that. So I think you, and I love the fact you take your baby to work. I take my baby to work.
We were saying this actually on the way here because people were messaging me like, I can't believe literally he was in the sling, because I loved wearing him in the sling. Like baby wearing was my favorite thing. And someone said to me, oh my God, I can't believe you're back to work after a week. And I was like, but at my work, it's not my work. It's like, it's my other home.
It's all your family are there.
Yeah, I was literally like, I want to be with my twin sister. My husband's there. My mum's there. I was like, why would I just sit at home? It's a very different I wasn't even working. I was just there. Like I just wanted to be there. And I think that's part of when you grow a business, like you're growing like a life as well and your lifestyle. It's not like I'm like, I'm going back to work after a week, and I can see why some people be like, that would be awful. But
well, especially if you're
for me, I wanted to be there, but I wasn't working. I was just there. I was like, I can't just sit at home on my own. I get, especially when you have like a mind full of things, like I at least want to be at work and can talk about stuff, share ideas. It's a place I want to be, and I feel like you're lucky even to be able to say that. That's what we always say. Like it's not just about money or anything. It's about like the life that you build and not wanting to just escape it or dread it on a Monday and things like that. No, and that's what people need to.
It's great. It's absolutely great. I do exactly the same thing. Grace has got her own little corner, her own little creche. Although now she just shouts at me all the time. I can't do anything. So now I'm just like, nursery for you.
Yeah. My little one started at 10 months.
Yeah.
Because that's when they start getting about everyone.
Yeah, it's difficult. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for coming in to talk to us. I feel like it's a natural place to wrap up. I've loved hearing your story. I've loved following on Instagram. So if anyone wants to get hold of you or the businesses, how can they get hold of you?
Well, Perky Pear is just Perky Pear official, spelled like the fruit. Perky Pear. Charlotte and I have got like a behind the scenes one, like called The Perky Pear, spelled Pair, as in twins. We kind of share more things as to like things like this, or like how things are made and created for both brands. Then you've got the Bouncy Blow Band.
Amazing. Brilliant.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've loved it. Honestly, it's been great.
My first podcast where it's filmed.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.